Backside riding is really slow and boring. You just sort of totter up the wave really slowly and then just sort of flop back down again. Hardly worth bothering with unless the wind is completely onshore and it's impossible to do much else. Complete nonsense, of course. Backside riding is a blast.
For myself, it's sometimes some of the most fun wave riding there is, especially in European type conditions. If it's a bit mushy, a little bit onshore, it's not a big wave, down the line riding then is okay, but you might get one okay turn. But sometimes backside riding, whether it's 1 foot or 10 foot hookeeper, is very good fun, really exciting sometimes, especially if you're sort of hooking it back under the curling part of the wave.
Backside riding is best suited to cross onshore winds, where your natural course takes you along the wave face with your back to the wave. And because these are the conditions that prevail around many shores, this is most people's introduction to wave riding. The first step is just to do shallow turns and manoeuvre into positions where you let the wave do the work.
It's very easy. You just got to stay with the wave and just bear up into wind and let the wave push you back all the time. So it's just a question, again, of not getting your weight too far to the back of the board, keeping it a little bit forward and just bearing up into the wave and let it push you back each time.
At a controlled level, you just look ahead down the face and line up with the steep section, and then lean on the heels to carve upwind towards it. And at the top, transfer the weight to the toes, favouring the back foot to present the underside of the board to the face and let it push you round. And each time get a little more adventurous. Let the wave break before turning more vertically up the face and feel the tumbling white water smack the board round. The next step is to drop the rig into the trough and back wind it, and that gives you the leverage to drive off the back foot and slash the board round.
The way to do that is you want to be high up on the wave, really right up next to the lip of the wave as it's sort of curling sort of to the left of you if you've got starboard tack to the winds. You're going to go down, flying down the face of the wave as fast as you can, engage in the windward side rail. So the windward side rail, you're going to engage that into the wave, carve through. As the board's coming up towards the lip of the wave, you've then got to move your backhand quite far back on the sail. The rail's engaged, your backhand's going back, your board's going to start carving back towards the beach. You literally push and lean against your sail, and that then will backwind the sail and flick the whole lot forward. So you can do backside aerials or just backside sort of cutbacks, and you really work with your backhand, moving it as far back as you can, pushing against it, and then when you push, it'll literally sort of do like a flick motion, and it'll flick you out, and you'll be landing sort of going forwards again towards the shore, hopefully.
You want to have a lot of speed. That's kind of the key aspect, you know, to be going fast and to be right close to the wave and the whitewater where it's breaking, so you know that you are riding the wave. I usually use my hands, both palms down. Look where you're going, you know, like wherever your head goes, that's kind of where your rig and everything else goes. So a lot has to do with the sail, you know, you kind of push down with your back hand when you're going up to go backside off the lip. So you're kind of pushing down with your sail and using that momentum to go up and hit the lip backside.
So this is the position we're talking about. He's carved right up to the lip on his heels, so he's dead into wind. He then lays the sail down, pushes on the backhand, and then comes back up to him, and he can drive off the top.
Dropping both body and rig down into the void is scary, as you're aware that the wave is going to drill you onto your kit if you get it wrong. So a smart plan can be to get used to the action on flat water, carving up wind before backing the sail and using that leverage to drive the tail out behind you.
With the lay down backside, it's really a question of going into it slowly kind of thing. You want to start by just slightly putting it down and pushing on your backhand, because as soon as you push on your backhand, the sail will come upright again, and that is the key. So you know, if you start to get worried, you can just push on your backhand and it'll come back up, and also weight on the back foot as well. So it's a question of just pushing it each time a little bit more, to the extent that you'll be able to push it right down and have the tip of the sail almost touching the water.
It is a good feeling, especially when you get to the level where your mast tip ends up below you. And the toppest of the top tips is that the harder and further you carve upwind, even to the extent where the nose is turned under the foot of the sail, the easier it is to backwind the sail. And of course you have to commit. The faster your bottom turn, the further you lay the sail down, and the harder you push with the backhand, the more flick you can get and the more explosive the move. And it's when you time that push and flick just as the lip smacks the underside of the board that you start to launch into those first backside aerials.
If you do a backside aerial, or any backside, you got to keep the speed, you know. So you stay on the top side of the wave when you come down with it, and you try to stay on the top side to actually get them to keep the speed going. If you come too far down, well, you will lose your speed and you can't get up again. So what you do is you look for the braking part of the wave where you can actually put your boards against and throw yourself forward.
You may have spotted the similarity between a backside aerial and that classic freestyle move, the shove it. That's the one where you jump into wind, drop the sail downwind, push on the backhand to backwind the sail, and then use that pressure as leverage to throw the tail upwind and above you. Now that one was done on the way out, but time that same movement on the way in, so you lay the sail down and backwind it as you carve up towards the peak, and you have yourself a backside aerial. And now for some more boring backside riding. Riding away frontside lends itself to dreamy sideshore winds like these in Maui. It's not impossible in onshore winds, but it does feel a lot less natural. And it's all down to the point of sailing you're on when you do your bottom turn and top turn sequence.
The sideshore wind is quite straightforward because the bottom turn is really just like the first part of a jibe. But when the wind goes cross onshore, it's like the last half of a jibe. As soon as you're taking the drop, you're already on a run. By the time you're parallel with the wave, you're through the wind. And by the time you're at the top of the wave again, you're completely clue first.
So this is the skill you have to get wired. Being able to come out of a jibe planing switch foot and clue first. On flat water, concentrate on dropping the hips to the inside and turning the shoulders out to keep the sail powered before rocking back on the heels and turning back upwind. And then take it to the chop, so you can time your run to use a small wave to help you redirect.
There are two main problems about going down the line in onshore winds. And the first one is just outrunning the wave. As soon as you bear off down the wave, you're already on a really broad reach. And so it's all too easy just to accelerate way out into the flat.
And the second problem is that being so broad to the wind for most of the ride is that you just get overpowered clue first. But all these problems can be solved by speed, tight turning and smart tactics. Lots of wind blowing over irregular, almost stationary wind waves. To stop herself outrunning the wave, Dido attacks from behind, starts her turn early, then overtakes the wave so she's already parallel with it as she hits the bottom and is in a position to do a snappy one-handed off the top.
I see a lot of guys here trying to learn how to go frontside here, and they take the back foot out of the foot trying to just go really easy like that, but it's not the right thing to do. But the front side, your body have to your knees have to always be bent to get the speed on the front side, and your sail have to be more open and try to get the wind on the sail all the time. So it's pretty much like uncomfortable position, but it's just the one to get the speed and front side. You don't go really long front side, bottom turn, nice, easy catbacks. You just go really short and radical catbacks.
Onshore winds blow the crests over and make the waves break prematurely, so they often lack shape and power. You can still go down the line and it's good practice, but because you're riding so broad to the wind, you have to accept that it's not going to look that snappy, unless, of course, you're really powered up.
Here in Poso, you always have to use the wind to go frontside. If you go frontside on onshore conditions with really light wind, it's super hard. But in Poso, we have strong wind, so for some people it could be easier, and for some others much difficult, because maybe they get the gas and they go like full speed and they miss the wave in the back and they don't know what to do.
When you're powered up by a gale, 35 knots here in Pose, you have no choice but to carve a really tight bottom turn if you're to stay with the wave. To keep it tight, Nick pivots the board around with more back foot pressure than normal. What you don't see is just how much strength is needed to hold the sail open and under control, especially as you crack off the top. Controlling that power is so much easier if you keep your speed up on the wave.
As with so many wave sailing manoeuvres, success comes basically from getting some speed up. So with the wind cross on shore, the idea at the top of the wave is to do that tight pivot turn, so you're facing down the slope, lean on the front foot and get maximum speed up, and as you do so, the apparent wind will come forward and make life a lot easier.
In these big slow waves and just a moderate wind, Toasty rebounds into his downwind ride from a hard backside top turn. He spins the board around on the tail to end up facing along the wave, and then leans on the front foot, drives down to the front hand and stays clue first, and keeps his speed up to produce a mildly dazzling moment out of a dead situation.
First of all, you got to stay on the top part of the wave again. So when the wave is round, you come around and you just try to stay in the top bit to keep the speed, and you really open the clue, which is very important. Stretch open the clue and lean forward, so you try to get the speed going. And when you see the lip coming, you try to go down a little bit so you'll be able to hit it.
Riding dead downwind at a marginal force 4, the rig is powerless, so the speed has to come from staying in the fastest part of the wave and just trimming the board level as if you were surfing. So you favour the front foot to stop the tail dragging, and then you just try to hold your form as you hit the lip clue first. So this is the journey. Make a tight turn at the top to face along the wave. Already you're dead downwind, so open the sail right out. Lots of power. As you accelerate, that power softens. Lean forward onto the boom and the front foot to drive the board level. At the bottom of the wave, you're already clue first. Carve off the front foot back up towards the lip, and now you're twisted inside out.
Now, to have any chance of controlling the power as you come off the top, you've got to get into this extreme position with the hips driving into the wave and the sail totally sheeted out clue first.
Rock back on the heels and redirect. It's all in the hips. Get the weight moving over the rail by dropping the inside hip towards the wave face, and then swing the hips away from the wave as you redirect into your top turn. The key is to let the breaking wave smack the board round. You can't use the rig that much. When the wind's this onshore, by the time you reach the top of the wave, you're so far through the wind that you have to leave the sail right open. If you sheet in hard and try to snap it round, you'll oversheet and flop in. It takes a lot of suppleness at the hips to hold the sail open, and those killing it when the wind goes onshore are ambitious and rubbery. They always aim for the pocket right where the wave is breaking. And they really work those hips and twist the core. We've treated up and downwind riding separately, but in onshore conditions especially, where sections will be braking all over the place, you need to be ready to go both ways if you're to stay on the peak. Using vision and keeping the turns tight, Chris Horsley makes the absolute most out of this soft wave. Now this is where I live, and let's face it, these conditions are what most of us are dealt most of the time, and they're a magnificent challenge. And if you can go down the line and twist yourself into bottom and top turns on days like this, it will all seem so easy on those rare occasions when you encounter perfection. But since this is where we're most likely to be, we might as well tool up for the job.